Snipers, welcome back to another deck profile. This time we'll be doing Metalfoes Gouki, the Season 10 champion of Scrub League by Tom. The first time you've won the Scrub League championship. Well, congratulations. And with Metalfoes Gouki, Metalfoes recently unbanned deck because of the link format, of course, and Gouki's a new deck in Duelist. How are you finding the combination of both?
It's decks? Good. I like the gimmick of blowing up your own stuff. So as soon as Metalfoes got unbanned, it was sort of like a trial and error of finding what it worked with it.
Yep.
I tried Metalfoes Fire Kings, it didn't work. Metalfoes Rescue, that didn't really work, and then we just settled on Metalfoes Gouki, which was a good call for the meta because we expected a lot of blue eyes, and they match it quite well against blue eyes.
All right, so yeah. Any other final words before you not final words, like any other suggestions or anything about the deck when you played it on the day?
The problem with the deck is if you want to play it yourself, is you actually need to know what resources you need a lot of the time, because otherwise you end up with really big hands that don't actually do anything. You end up with hands with like 6 cards, but they don't do anything.
Yeah.
So you need to know the deck quite well to be able to pilot it quite well.
So let's go and see what you play.
Let's start.
Should we start with the Metalfoes?
Start with the Metalfoes bit.
Okay.
3 Volt Flame,
of course.
Pretty standard. You know, we don't really need to explain. Level 7.
Yep.
3 Gold Driver. Again, don't really need to explain it. You want to play as most scales as you can, and it's the best one.
They all do the same thing, innit?
Yeah, they all do the same thing. 3 Silvered. Again, 1 scale does good things, especially with under Gouki Great Ogre. It's only got 100 defense, so it's relatively large.
Yep.
This is where it gets a bit different to other builds. We also play 3 Stealing. A lot of builds have cut Stealing down, but you want all the cards to do the same thing.
Yep.
And I found him really good at 3, so I left him at 3.
Cool.
We play 1 Bidgemegear. Some people play it at more, but it's actually really bad in your hand because you can't Pendulum it back because it's level 1. You find when you play the deck, the more you have, the worse it is. So you want just the 1. You don't want any more.
1's good enough. Okay.
1's good enough. Then we'll go to Metalfoes Spells and Traps.
Yep.
The best one. 1 Metalfoes Fusion.
Yep.
It's the key of the deck.
1's good enough.
1's good enough. You recycle it. You don't need any more. 1 full Metalfoes Fusion. It's really good for fusing into Alcest on your opponent's turn, but it is actually relatively niche, so you don't actually set this a lot of the time off your own effects.
Yeah.
But it's an option you get. Play 1, you're happy with 1.
Yeah.
2 counter. This is where we switch from a lot of other builds as well. A lot of builds play 3. I found it fine at 2. I didn't want to have too many in my hand in the opening games. Playing at 2 is a bit more risky, but it's actually a bit more rewarding if you don't draw it, if you have to.
Okay.
And then 1 combination. Again, this is where we divulge a little bit. Some lists play 2. I found it fine at 1. Again, it's a bit more risky, but if you don't draw it in your open hand, it's a lot better to have only 1.
Yeah, you got to cut some space, right? For the other engines.
Because you have the Gouki engine, you need space for all your other cards, especially when you're running a lot of generic support. So we had to make some cuts. That's where we were made.
Alright, so is that all of them? Yeah.
That's all the Metalfoes cards. That's all the monsters and the spells and traps.
See the Goukis.
They're the Goukis. 3 Suplex. It's the best one. You want it in your hand.
It's the best one, you reckon? Okay.
It's the best one. It's the best one, like in your hand, like, not on the board. It's the best one. It's the best one in your hand. So you want it in your hand as often as you can. It lets you summon another Gouki. It's fine. It floats. That's what all Goukis do.
They all float.
They all float. Just 2 Rescorpio. It's a really big normal summon, so it lets you play the slow game sometimes. Just because it's a really, really big normal summon. Again, it floats. You can pop it with your scales, float into other Goukis, pendulum them out, pop them, keep getting advantage. 2 Twist Cobra. It's the best Gouki on the field, and it's actually insane a lot of the time. You can tribute Twist Cobra, target Rio Scorpion, add 1600, and it becomes a 4100 beater.
That's huge.
It's huge. Gets over most things in the game.
Usually in damage step as well.
Usually in damage step. You can activate this in damage count, which means if you do, your opponent doesn't get a replay if you sack this off. That's if they target it. Which is really big. And then 2 rematch. 3's bricky. You don't want 3. You can search it, so you don't need it at more than 2.
There's Monster Reborn 2 of them.
Yeah, you just
so good.
It's like you can just generate advantage on an opponent's turn by bringing back the ones that you floated into on your turn, bringing them back out past your opponent, and then they float again on your opponent's turn.
That's all the Goukis.
That's all the Goukis.
Okay, so
we play that much.
Alright.
The generic support now. 2 Luster.
Yeah, went to 2, didn't it?
It went to 2.
Yeah. So you took the ban list to your advantage for the playoffs.
Because the ban list put this to 2, we were like, okay, we need to play this. Ignis is really powerful, the Nist is really powerful, so we wanted to play this at 2.
Yeah.
Ignis does out so many things, especially especially in the Scrub League. So we wanted 2 of these.
And in one of the games, you stole somebody with Dinoster, and they had a Tornado Dragon. I think it was Danny.
Because Danny was playing me, Danny had a lot of effect with Tornado Dragon and popping my back row with the Harpies.
Yeah.
So we just make Dinister and it means he can't do that. He has to push through Dinister first.
Yep.
2 Arch Phoenix Centric. It's good. It's really, really good. You can pop a spell and trap, put it in your extra deck, summon it out again by Pendulum Summoning, and then pop a monster. It's actually so good, and it won me so many games. But it can be bricky, that's why we only play 2. The 1 Techers, 1 Amorphage Sloth.
Alright, so why do you run this?
Because a lot of the time you need something to pop first that doesn't suck. So you can put this in your scale, pop it, put it in the extra deck, get your advantage, start generating your Metalfoes stuff, and then pendulum it back, and the opponent just can't go into the extra deck.
Yeah.
Which means if you generate a relatively menacing board, like with Alcahest and stuff, they're actually going to struggle to out it. So this is why we only play 1. You don't want to see it a lot, because it can actually ruin you, because you can't do anything. But it's fine, because you can pop it yourself, so pop it yourself, do all your stuff, then pendulum it back out. So that's why you want it at 1. I thought it was really good at 1. Rabbit went to 3.
Yeah, that's another change.
It's so good in Metalfoes because it's a 1-card fusion.
Yeah.
Summon it, get rid of it, fusion, they go to the extra deck, you get your fusion monster, you shuffle the fusion back in, and you're happy.
Xyz as well, right?
Oh, you can make Xyz plays as well, but that tends to be if your hand's a bit worse. You don't tend to make Xyz plays very often unless your hand's quite poor. You mainly want to use this to go into fusion plays. 3 Burbaboom.
Alright.
It's the best normal summon.
Yeah.
It fixes your hand, it floats, it goes into all your rank 3s that also generate advantage with your Metalfoes spells. We'll go into the extra deck a little bit. You can make this, which then summons Suprex from the deck.
Yeah, so warrior level 4.
Which means that you can then link summon, and then you can do more plays. Get float, you play Mrs. Radiant, so go into this, go get Suprex, link into this, you get floats, so many advantages.
You get a search for Suprex as well.
Suprex.
Yeah, then you got 2 extra deck zones.
Yeah, because you freeze up the extra deck zone, and then you get 2 zones to pendulum summon.
Yeah.
You can also make Break Sword, which means you can pop your own spells and traps, free up your scales.
Combination, right?
Combination.
So you can get search.
You get search. This one was added for first turn. First turn, sometimes you need to set combination and pop it to complete your scales.
Yeah.
So that's why you play this. It's also really got a really large, 28 defense, which can be helpful in some situations.
Yeah.
We'll go to the rest of the generic stuff since we don't need Baboon. 1 more generic Maxi. It should be at 0. I don't understand why it's not. It's a really good card. We saw in playoffs, if you actually watch the games, that one of my opponents took the Maxi challenge and you just win that game.
Yeah.
Basically, it either says give yourself like 5 cards or your opponent skips their turn.
Yeah.
It's so good. 1 more generic MST, just because sometimes we need non-scale spell and trap removal.
Yep.
And that's that. Play 1 painful decision. It's hard once per turn, so you don't want many more than that. You can play it at 2 if you want to, but I find it best at 1. And then 2 desires. Best card.
Okay.
Manage 10, no cost, +1.
Easy to get hold of.
Easy to get hold of now.
Alright, so extra deck. We've gone through some of the rank 3s, so should we start with that?
We'll start with the rank 3s. We'll start
Talked about some of them already.
Grand Pulse, which we went through why we play it. It's also spell and trap removal if you need it.
Yeah.
1 Break Sword. Again, pop their scales, pop their stuff.
This is with Silvered and the Barbaboon.
Yeah, Silvered and Barbaboon.
Yeah.
It forces negates, which is the best thing.
Yeah.
MX Saber Inverter is your advantage machine.
Spectre Gouki.
Add cards to hand. It's really good. They play 1 Big Eye.
Oh, this came in the playoffs, didn't it?
This came in the playoffs. We took someone's Cyber Dragon Infinity with it.
Yeah.
It's really good. You can make it with Evolve Flame, so it's actually not that difficult to make.
Yeah.
It's probably my favourite extra. Alright. 1 Ignister. It's at 1, you want this, it's non-targeting shuffle. It's insane. 1 Magister. You can go into this if your hand's a little bricky, fix your scales, find luster, do whatever you need to do. It's a second effect, not that relevant, but it's a 1-card Exit of Rabbit, so that's why you play it. And 1 Dinister. It's easier to make than Ignister, and it just lets you stall sometimes. It's got a really large defense. It means that your Vol Flames can't be destroyed by battle, can't be destroyed by card effects as well, which is really, really good. It's very powerful for pushing. Then we'll go to Metalfoes, 1 Adamant. Sometimes it just lets you bridge sometimes into Metalfoes cards, and sometimes you can just make it as a 2500 beater, which is fine. 1 Orichalk, piercing damage for all your Metalfoes doubled. It pops 1 when it goes from field to grave.
In the playoffs, you you won a game when you did like.
I hit someone with
made them go to less than 1k in a turn.
He had he had a 0 defense monster, and we hit him with this, and it was 56,000 damage.
And then some other guy attacked.
And then we hit him, so it went to like 900 HP on the first turn of the game. Its second effect's really good. If it's just sent from field to grave, so if you fuse with it, you just pop a card. One Alcahest, you don't need it more than one. It's just.
How many did you get hold of?
I got hold of 3 when I was building it, but you only need 1.
Is there anyone that get reprinted, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that.
Like it didn't
One's good enough.
It didn't get reprinted, but it's fine at 1. You don't need any more than 1. You don't need the effect more than once. You can reset it with Mithrilium.
Yep. One's good enough.
3 Mithrilium.
Alright, 3. Why do you play 3?
I ran 3 because it was. I found the deck to be really grindy, and having 3 Mithrilium makes the deck grind quite well. But you can easily cut this to 2. You don't necessarily need 3. It's just a personal preference to play it at 3. It's really good. You target 2 cards in your grave. You put them back in the deck and bounce a card. You can use it to reset your own scales, remove your opponent's problem monsters, and when it gets destroyed, you float. It's really, really good.
Okay.
One Mrs. Radiant we went to earlier.
They're Link Monster.
We've got one other Link Monster, but it's just really good. If when it's destroyed, you have like Earth monsters. You can make it with just Boom, which is really strong. Makes all your Goukis actually really huge, which allows you to make really big OTK pushes. And then one Gouki the Great Ogre.
Right, so the Gouki Link Monster.
The Gouki Link Monster. It's actually relatively hard to make on the first turn of the game.
It is.
You have to Suplex and summon a Gouki, and then Pendulum summon another Gouki whilst popping them and making a rematch.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to make it on the first turn of the game, but later in the game it lets really strong pushes because it punishes your opponent if their monsters aren't Link monsters. If they have the defense value, then they're going to go really small.
Makes all the blue eyes.
Makes all the blue eyes, which is why we played it, because it makes all blue eyes 500 attack.
Yeah, it's out them.
Like
They're all weak.
They all become like tiny little piddly monsters against a 2/6 beater. It's also got the effect that when it cards at a points to, if this will be destroyed, you can destroy them instead. Which lets you put Goukis under it, float them. Really, really strong.
That's right. Okay, that's about it for this deck. Congrats again for winning with this deck, man. Under the Link rules, Master Rule 4, how do you find like Pendulum decks though in general?
They got hurt really, really bad by the Master Rule 4, but when you're playing the deck and you can realise that you're actually still able to play the game relatively well, you realise how ridiculous Master Rule 3 was, because if you just Pendulum 5...
Yeah, you just realise you've got like 5 monsters extra.
I can just stock up your extra deck, Pendulum 5
times.
Every time. You just realise how ridiculous the deck was. It's still good at Master Rule 4, but it's nowhere near as good as it was. The deck now thrives on doing OTK pushes, because when you summon Rabbit, the monsters aren't restricted in terms of attack. So you summon 2 gold drivers, summon some Goukis and make a really big OTK push, but the deck doesn't grind as well anymore. Like, it can still grind, but just nowhere near as good as it used to be able to, because obviously you can't summon all your stuff in the extra deck. It almost requires you to have a Link monster out beforehand. But it's not that hard. Since
you got the Gouki engine.
You got the Gouki engine, and Burbaboon's a 1 card. If you can pop it, it's a 1 card Invoker, which then goes into Mrs. Radiant. This deck's actually not that good against strikes. Because
you do have like back row removal.
You have you have 3 back row removal, which means you can make some pushes, but if you find strikes really prominent in your meta, the deck's not for you, because it gets really, really wrecked by strike. If they strike your Gouki Suplex, you get a float, but you've used your normal summon. That monster's now stuck in your hand. If you make a Pendulum push, they just strike it all. If they play well, strike will just wreck you, and you won't be able to do anything about it, especially if you don't even draw your spell and trap removal.
Alright, so that's it. Any final shout outs, mate?
That's it.
Alright, that's it.
Please with Goukis for playoffs.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.